For the last 10 years, give or take, Bentonville, Arkansas has steadily become known to many riders as the world's capital of mountain biking. And with 500 whatever miles of purpose-built trails, it's hard to argue against. And in May of 2024, a group of friends, my wife and myself, road tripped down to this bike Disneyland for the 2024 Bentonville Bike Fest. Driving from Grand Rapids, Michigan, the trip is about 11 and a half hours. But it's not all bad. Put on a podcast and gaze on the many fields the Midwest has to offer. So exciting.
Oh my God, it's a windmill!
Passing through St. Louis, you do see the arch, so that's cool. We did decide ahead of time to break up the drive and stay at the Pine Mark Motel in St. Clair, Missouri. The motel part was nice, and we took advantage of their separate housing unit for the larger groups. With most of the group together at this point, we continued south, passing the Uranus Fudge Factory and then visiting buc-ees in Springfield, Missouri.
It's buc-ees!
This is nuts. Once we made it to Bentonville, we checked in with our friends at the Airbnb for the weekend. The garage was already equipped with a bike stand and a tool bench with plenty of room for all our bikes. The house was laid out nicely with plenty of room for the group. Even the dogs had room to run around in the backyard. Once we were settled, we all headed downtown to meet up with the other half of our group. And while making our way around town, we noticed Bentonville had a ton of construction. The place was booming with renovation.
The first ride?
First ride! Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that I actually bought a new bike for this trip. Sorry, I digress. Anyway, back to Bentonville. First ride was at the Slaughter Pin Trail System on All American. All American is a nice warm-up and a good introduction to the trail system. A lot of sections were armored, which was a nice touch. I guess it makes sense being that its hub is right downtown. The trail gets ridden a lot. We then rode Leopard Loop and Boo Boo, and Leopard Loop was paved and awesome. Choo Choo was another paved float trail at this hub, and yeah, paved is definitely the way to go. Boo Boo was a nice mix of rock armor and flow, short and sweet. In addition, the trail's intermediate jumps were helpful to get used to the new bike. At this point, I couldn't tell you where in Slaughter Pin we rode, but eventually we made our way to the top of Schrain Train. Some of the group was racing the Enduro on Sunday, and while sessioning the trail, we crossed paths with some of the Bike Fest crew members.
Roll to the bottom. Y'all ain't even toting stuff.
Like most trails in this area, Schrain Train was good, bits of both flow and tech, and wood. From Schrain Train, we made our way to the northern sector of Slaughter Pin to ride the castle. Visually, the castle seemed to make the climb a lot easier despite the high temperatures. The trail hub had, I think, 7 options, and some of our group split up to ride different trails during our time there. Catapult was a fun trail, but Medieval owned 2 of my 3 castle runs. After the castle, we made our way back into the slaughter pin trail system for some more fun. A water break was in order, and thankfully, Bentonville had a water station along this Razorback Greenway section before making our way over to the Hammer Down Trail. At this point, I think we jumped back on Razorback Greenway and made our way over to the Masterpiece and crossed paths with Maddie. The Masterpiece was impressive, a completely permanent piece of artwork you can ride bikes on. It's wild. After a chill ride back on the Greenway, we grabbed some food before heading to Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve. We first went over to Thunderdome to get a look at things. They had a dual slalom race going on with different bikes. The place was packed.
Hi, Corbin.
Didn't look like we'd be able to ride Thunderdome, so we went back to the Kohler area and up the mountain. The trail hub at the top is unique, to say the least. The structure here offered a roll into, I think, 3 different trails. However, we rode Fireline first. The next 3 descents were the top section of Cease and Desist. The large jumps were a ton of fun.
Hi, sweetie.
After a brief chat with the kiddos, we took Cease and Desist down to drop the hammer.
That's the drop distance, just so you know.
The drop is a popular feature around Bentonville, and after a quick look, it's go time. Solid.
The easiest big stuff you ever hit?
Yeah. Our time at Kohler wrapped up a long, hot day on the bikes. We cruised back to the truck and went to the one place Bentonville is most known for.
You guys been to Walmart before? Look at this place.
Back at the house, the dogs were happy to see us, and we practiced our profanity playing Spot It to cap off the day.
Damn it. See ya, Ann.
On day 2, we started off at the Huntley Gravity Zone. We farted around on trails like Tango Whiskey and Invasion, but Air Raid was the shit.
Going down the duck!
Once it started to rain, we made our way up and back downtown to go to the Bike Fest grounds. Lots of stuff to do here, but since most of the action was taking place on the days to follow, we headed back to the house for a quick snack.
Oh, you got it. You got it. He's quick.
Now you have to give Reese one.
Hand Cut Hollow is where we rode next. The climb to the top was a workout, but the trail hub made your head spin. With all the options, we decided on My Hero Zero to start things off. We had heard a lot about the trail Interplanet Janet leading up to this trip, and I was excited to finally ride it for myself. We had a lot of us riding this area, so I wanted to try and get at least some of our group a follow on the GoPro.
You're in the edit. Congratulations.
But yeah, we basically put Interplanet Janet on repeat. The trail was just too fun.
Here we go. Drop it in. That's a good one.
Once at the bottom, we took a moment to appreciate the sculptures. We showed our respect by climbing all over it for a photo op.
This is actually some pretty cool artwork just to be sitting out in the woods at a trail.
We then made our way back home to feed the dogs before heading to the rail yard. This place is awesome. Fast asphalt flow, jumps everywhere, and it offers progressive lines that allow riders to work their way over to the more difficult lines. We went right to the progressive jumps. We rode the first line, got comfortable, rode back to the top, sent the second, rode back. FYI, this kid ripped. Jeez, that was cool. Anyway, once we got familiar with our DJs again, I think we made Foster guinea pig the big line before the rest of us rode it.
And Foster is off. Here we go. Third line at the rail yard. Not bad, right?
This dude. I could have spent all night on the third line.
Send it to your mother!
But once we got our fill, it was time to get the drone out. Some of us had already moved on to the upper hub, so I tried to get the bird up fast to catch Kellen on a full run. Once I got back on the bike, I wanted to go over there to ride some things for myself. The whole upper section is stellar. Lines worth repeating for hours, in my opinion. But yeah, we spent most of our time on the expert line. By the time the lights came on, the leg cramps were setting in.
Look at that smile.
But we basically stopped riding the park right as some rain started, but that only meant we got to see some killer lightning on the way to dinner,
Yes.
where we celebrated bikes and an awesome day. Day 3, back to Thunderdome.
Busy.
It's easy until you hit the tape line, then you gotta give it to it to start clearing stuff.
A little anticlimactic after the rail yard especially, but fun nonetheless, after which it was back to Kohler for more flow. primarily more Fireline.
Oh no?
At some point, Brian and I needed to swap our bikes for the DJs and get over to Bike Fest to practice for the straight rhythm race. We rode hard way to the cafe to make our way back to the Greenway Trail. Hard way to the cafe dumps you on the Applegate Trail, and right off the trail was this cool coffee shop place called Airship Coffee. The festival was in full swing and cars were parked and lined up on the street for what felt like a mile. Once we got on the site, we made our way through the crowd and over to the straight rhythm. The roll-in was fast and the course was a cool experience. The rain from the night before made a couple areas soft, and for some reason I couldn't dial in the left lane, but practice was still fun, and things felt familiar on the DJ after the rail yard just last night.
Yeah, no.
While waiting in line, I did get to cross paths with a local pro, which was pretty cool.
Hey, you're Annika, right?
Yeah, hi.
Your YouTube videos are super helpful for around here.
Thank you.
Let me
I
just give you that.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Annika's videos really were helpful, but her presence was a little intimidating as an opponent, even for practice. I think I let it get to me before I almost wiped out in the turn.
Whoa.
Yeah, remember how I couldn't dial in the left side? After wanting to hide in the bushes with embarrassment, we went up and got our timing chips, attended the riders meeting, and then went up for our first timed run. When you're standing in line, you never know if you're going to match up with the person in front or behind you until you get closer to the top. And I wasn't sure who this guy was, but he looked fast. See ya. Gone. Turns out when you Google Tommy Zula, you'll find that he was the first ever UCI pump track world champ. The crew running the event ended up having a ton of problems with their timing system, and at some point I ditched the race for other things. Soon after, we finally met up with our friend Andy to try out some e-bikes from the festival. Andy on an e-bike made climbing look easy, and at this point, after baking in the sun during the straight rhythm, I wish I'd have rented one too.
I'm burning. My lungs are burning.
But anyways, back to Kohler we went to ride some more fun stuff. We regrouped at the top to ride the trail a few more times together and get some more video. By the end of our session at the Hammer, I was fatigued. After being towed back to the top, we ripped Fireline one more time while Steph had her e-bike from the festival.
Ready?
Overheated, sweaty, and in need of a cooling off, our next stop was to the McKissick Creek swimming hole at the north edge of Bentonville, and the water felt awesome. Refreshed and hungry, we went to a dinner at a nearby sports bar and ended the day with some trash ice cream. Our third night is when things got weird. Our group woke up to emergency alerts, wind, and rain. Tornadoes were in the area. Trees were falling. Water was rushing. And the lightning and chaotic weather had the skies looking very ominous. Thankfully, we made it through the night with no damage to the house or the cars. The scene in front of our house that morning suggested we were pretty lucky. I got the drone out to see how bad the damage was in other areas around the house. Not long after we got up and around that morning, as kind of a nail in the coffin, we found out Bike Fest was canceled. One of us even the night before mentioned how all those tents were going to be a mess.
All those tents at the expo. They're going to be gone.
And he wasn't wrong. The damage was all over Bentonville. The expo was trashed, cars were smashed, trails were closed. It was a huge bummer. And since Bike Fest was canceled, we left the house a day early to visit our friend Andy at his house in Bella Vista, with the intention of crashing at his place or getting a hotel on the way home. Since the day after all them naders was nice and all the major trails were presumed closed, one of us had the idea to check out Tanyard Falls in Bella Vista. The water was moving fast, and the longer we walked, the louder the sound of water was.
Dude!
The falls were raging. I guess all the water from the storm the night before had to go somewhere. Normally, these falls are much calmer and picturesque.
Well, not today!
We left the falls and went back to Andy's house to ride his lunchtime loop. And as soon as we geared up, the weather started looking like rain again.
Yeah, better go. This is the fun, flowy part.
I couldn't tell you where in Bella Vista we rode, but the trail was connected to or near the Back 40 trail system. The trail had some cool rock features. It had some fast sections. It also had a lot of water. A lot of water.
Yes, mud and eyes.
After taking some mud to the eye, and Courtney taking a slip and dip, we made it back to Andy's before the heavy stuff came down. It even started hailing. But between the storm and also Andy's daughter Addie, we had a lot to keep us entertained while we took turns getting cleaned up from the ride. All in all, despite the storms, the day ended up being pretty memorable. Once the rain stopped, Andy fired up the grill for some dinner and ended the day with a sick photo sesh.